Hello everybody. In this lesson I am going to show you how to resize, crop, and change the resolution of your images in Photoshop. I'm also going to show you how to do some of that resizing and cropping in Camera Raw. So I'm going to start with this image of me that some students took a couple of years ago when I was sitting sternly. I'm just double clicking on it. It's a Camera Raw image, and so it will open up Camera Raw to start with. And you'll see that the resolution and everything isn't that good. I'm going to change the temperature because I used some tungsten lights, so I'm going to move it up to 5400, which is close to the color temperature of the sun, which is what tungsten does. And then I'm going to increase the exposure a little bit because I think it's too dark. And I like that. I'm not worried about these areas right here. I'm just going to do a couple of adjustments now with the crop tool right here. There is a crop tool in Camera Raw. And so since all this stuff is extraneous, don't want it, I want to just crop me a certain way. Now you'll notice as I click and drag that it's keeping the rectangle selection for the crop at a certain aspect ratio. That means it's like 8 by 10. If for every 8 it goes one way, it goes 10 the other way. Or 4 by 5 is the same thing. It just has this exposure ratio, and it swaps it so it's taller than it is wide, or wider than it is tall, depending on where I move that. All right. The reason why it's doing that is because on this crop tool, I told it to do 4 to 5. I could change it so it does 9 to 16, and then I have this longer version of it. I could go 1 to 1, and then I have that square version. That means for every 1 inch over here, it's 1 inch over here. All right, so this is one way to crop. You can crop right in here, and when you're done cropping, you just hit Enter, and it accepts that. Notice it zoomed in pretty close to me on that one. Then if I want to save that new cropped image, I click on Save Image right there, and then I'll get this dialog box that'll show up, and I can give it a name and put the file in a folder. Notice it says it's a JPEG. The file extension is DNG right there. So if I want it to be a JPEG, I just choose JPEG. If I want it to be a TIFF, that lossless file type, I do it there. If I want it to just be a Photoshop file type, I can. Don't worry about DNG in that right now. Okay, but I don't want to crop this, so I'm going to undo the crop I did. So I'm holding down the Control-Alt key, and I'm going to go Control-0 so I can go back one more. No, go back another. And go back to the original. All right, I could have just gone right here and said reset the camera defaults. That's what I could have done. All right, but I don't want to crop in here. I just wanted to make a couple of exposure adjustments. I'm going to do the cropping that I want to do here in Photoshop. So clicking on Open Image, I open the image in Photoshop, and now I can crop it in here. So that's what I'm first going to show you is cropping. Then I'm going to show you how to resize, and then how to change the resolution, they're all related in a certain way. I'm going to start by clicking on the crop tool right here. That's this thing right here. You can also hit a C to do that, or a capital C. Now notice that when I start dragging this, it's dragging, keeping in the ratio of width to height. All right. And in fact, the ratio that it is right here is 2 to 3, which is what you use for a 4 by 6 frame, a 4 by 6 image. And so it's dragging. But what if I want to change that so it'll fit in an 8 by 10? Well, I can do that. But the trouble with this is I want it to be wider than it was tall. Well, on this button right here, and whenever you click the crop, these controls show up. I click that, and then I can make it be 8 by 10, or to fit in an 8 by 10 image. If I don't want it to have any of those constraints, and I just want to do the crop on my own, I click Clear, and it clears the aspect ratio values. And I can drag this and make it any aspect ratio I want, any ratio of width to height that I would like. It's infinite possibilities there. That's pretty much all the things I'm going to show you here. It does have some other stuff where it has 4 by 5, 8.5 by 11, 300 ppi. That's pixels per inch, and then it has some other specific things right there. You can play with that on your own. I'm not going to go into it right now. So here's the image that I have. I'm going to crop it right here. And then there is an option that you have. Now remember, everything you can do in Photoshop can be destructive or non-destructive. I'm going to show you how to make it non-destructive. By default, that delete cropped pixels, that means it deletes all these pixels that are around here. Delete cropped pixels is the default option. But I'm going to unclick it. And now when I hit enter on my keyboard, it crops my image. No, it should crop it. So I'm going to crop it. And it shows that, but I could go back and find those cropped pixels if I needed to. I'm not going to go into it right now, but because I want to, my goal was to make this into a 4x5. So I'm going to undo that really quick. I'm going to come over here to ratio. I'm going to make it, a 2x3 or 4x6. And I want it to be wider than it is tall. And then I'm going to crop it down. I'll crop it down just a little more because I think I have too much there. I like to put my eyes right on the 1/3 line, the upper third. So I'm going to do that right there so my right eye is on that. I'm going to hit enter to accept it. And there's the crop. Looks all right. So I'm going to go Control-1 to make it 100%. And whoever took this picture is just a little bit out of focus, but that's okay. I'm going to Control-0 so it's full size. If I print this now, I don't have to crop anything off if I print it on a 4x5 sheet, a sheet of photo paper. Now I'm going to move into showing you how to resize the image, because this image itself, if we go to image, we get these, we can show image size right here. And this image right now is 1923 by 1282 pixels. That's not as understandable to us, even though it is, as it is in inches, 6.4 by 4.2. That's how big it is. So notice right here I have the width and the height are linked to each other. That means if I change one, it's going to proportionally change the other one. So I'm going to make the width simply 6. You hit OK. And now I have an image that is exactly 4x6, just what I wanted. So if I print it, it's going to print pixel for pixel at 300 pixels per inch. This right here, this number, 300 pixels for every inch, that means for every inch that I go across here, there's going to be 300 pixels. And so every 1 inch square, there's going to be 300 times 300, which is, isn't that 90,000? Yeah, 90,000 pixels. Is that right? 30 times 30? Yeah, that's 4 zeros, 9, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that's 90,000 pixels for each square inch. So if it's 6 square inches across, by 4 square inches down, it's going to be 24 times 90,000 to get me the total pixels in this particular image. Now, if I don't want to print this, by the way, when you print on photographic paper, I recommend printing on about 300 pixels per inch. That's a pretty good resolution for printing. If you're wanting to put this image on some kind of social media site like Facebook or Instagram or something, then change it. If you're putting it on the internet, change it so it doesn't use a lot of bandwidth. You can change it so this is 72 pixels. But before I do that, I'm going to copy this image. I'm going to paste it in another image right here. So I'm just going to select all, and I'm going to Control-C copy. And then I'm going to make a new Photoshop document, and I'm just going to Control-V to paste it in there. Now here's the original. Here's the one I'm working on. I'm going to make them both the same size. All right, there's the one I'm working on. All right, so they're exactly the same. All right, so I'm going to take the first one. I'm going to leave that alone. I'm going to go to the second one, and I'm going to change the image size, which should be 6x4, and it is. And I'm going to change it so it's 72 pixels per inch. And that's the standard definition of most computer monitors that you're looking at. So I click OK. And look what happens. I'm viewing it at 77%. I'm going to go Control-1 to view it at 100%. Now I'm viewing this one at 100%. I'm going to go Control-1. I'm viewing this one as 100%. I'm viewing this one at 100%. This is 100% size. So that means pixel per pixel. I'm going to zoom in a few times. I'm going to go Control+. And notice when I zoom in, so it's about the same size as this image, it's all pixelated. Well, that's because I reduced the resolution, how many pixels per inch it has. So if I go to zoom at 100% by going Control 1 on my keyboard, it looks nice and sharp right here. But if I zoom into, if you look at down here, when I go Control plus on my keyboard, it goes 200, 300, 400. It starts zooming in. You can see those pixels are getting pretty big. So I'm just going to go Control 0, Control 1 to get it back to 100%. So this one has 300 pixels per inch. This one has 72 pixels per inch, but it is 6 inches by 4 inches. This has 300 pixels per inch, and it is, it's at 78% right now. Sorry, 78%. But this is it. It's also 6 inches by 4 inches, but it's only, it's 300 pixels per inch. So 300 pixels per inch, 72 pixels per inch. So in this, I've shown you how to crop, how to resize, and then how to change the resolution. Remember, you never want to change. Here's the pro tip on this. When you're changing size or resolution of an image, you never want to take an image and then increase the resolution or increase the size of it, because when you do that, you're just going to stretch the pixels out. You only want to go from big to small. If you can think of a reason why you'd want to go from small to big and stretch stuff out, then I'd like to hear the reason why. But I don't think there's a good reason to do it. Unless you want to have something all pixelated, and that's for artistic effect or something like that. But that's all I'm showing you in this one. This is just the basics of cropping, resizing, and changing the resolution. Thank you.